It's live. Welcome to the live Q&A number 3, everyone. This is Matt Armstrong, PenHabit. We also have Azizah and Stephen, GourmetPens, and SBREBrown, and introducing special guest, Eric, is it Orozco?
Yeah, you did well.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I've got to mute myself in the other window because it's about 10 seconds behind. Okay, so anyway, welcome to live Q&A number 3. Hopefully, we've got a bunch of people joining us in the chat. We see some folks from Barcelona and Costa Rica. So, if you've got questions, we're monitoring the chat as well, so you can ask questions there while we're going along. Otherwise, I think we're just going to go ahead and dive in and ask. Read the questions, and then we'll take turns answering them. So, Azizah, do you want to kick us off this morning?
I have the first question, please.
Oh, okay.
Can I just jump in with the first question?
Yeah.
The question is for Azizah. Azizah, would you please stop? Would you please just stop?
What?
Would
I
you
didn't do
stop?
anything.
Yes, you do it all the time.
I'm supposed to stop.
What is this ink you keep showing us? Every day there's a new ink, and every day I have to buy it.
Sorry.
Yeah, good point. Knock that off.
By Faber-Castell.
Mm-hmm.
Will you send me a letter with that ink, please? As soon as we're off the air, just write me a letter. It doesn't even have to be. It can be gibberish. Just make some scratches on the paper and send it to me so I can see.
I could do that.
No, I can arrange that.
I can do that.
The answer to my question is no. You're not going to stop.
No.
Oh,
Sorry.
we have a very upset dog. Just a moment.
It's not mine.
It's not his for once.
No. Why'd you read the first question?
Awesome.
I've got I'm dog sitting for a neighbor dog, and she's only been here about an hour, so she's not normal. So let me go calm her, and you guys go ahead and answer questions.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Read the first
There's actually 3 questions that are pretty much the same question. So I'll kind of integrate them, then we can all chime in. It's about flex. So what would be a good starter flex pen for less than $50? And what would be my top 3, or our top 3, fountain pen flex loves? So, and then the third question was looking for a cheap flex pen because the Ahab doesn't quite cut it. So I think that's a pretty well-rounded flex question.
Mm-hmm.
So from my point of view, in my experience, a good starter flex pen for less than $50 would be something like the Fountain Pen Revolution Jaipur. If you know someone who has a Noodler's Ahab or the Nib Creeper or a Conrad that works, it's great to start with, like to try it out. But the problem is they're kind of finicky, so if you get a finicky one, you're not going to really enjoy it. But those 2, if you get a good one, are good. The Fountain Pen Revolution ones, I've used quite a few now, and in my experience, their performance has been more consistent, more reliable, and much less in the way of tweaking to get it to work and all that. So that would be my under $50, cheaper flex pen recommendation. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, exactly. I don't have to repeat what you said. The Fountain Pen Revolution flex nibs seem to be quite reliable and are usually quite nice. So
how would you compare them to a Waterman 52, Azizah?
Well, they certainly do not compare, but it's the steel nibs on the Jaipur and even on the Noodlers. They are harder to flex because they're just more firm, so it takes more effort. You can break them in with just a lot of use, but if you have wrist issues like repetitive strain injury or tendonitis or anything, it's probably going to be difficult for you to use those because it requires a lot of pressure, and that's where something like a vintage flex pen with a wet noodle nib is nice because they're so soft that they're very easy to flex. But of course that means you have to learn how to use that nib because they are very soft. So it's not just you'll buy a Waterman and all of a sudden it's like a magical experience that you can suddenly you've mastered the nib. It does take some learning.
Yeah.
I think.
And allow me to pipe in and say, I don't care what anyone tells you, the Pilot Falcon is not a flex nib. It's not a flex nib. Don't
But there's
buy
a
it for
video
flex.
on
It's not a
YouTube.
flex. Yeah, the video. The video.
video.
We all
The
know that
video.
video. Yeah, exactly. So.
But then
No, it's a-
that it was modified.
Mm-hmm.
But Eric, what about yours then? Favorite flex nib? Under $50.
I don't believe. Well, if I had only $50 to spend, I would search. I would really try to find on eBay probably a Waterman 52 vest, something with a flexi, a vintage flex, because that's really the only flex that is actual flex. I've not tried the fountain pen Revolution pens, but this is not a vintage flex gold nib that they put on there.
No, it's just steel. The only issue for me
a little
is
more and get
yeah.
the Waterman 52, even if it was a vest, and you could probably find those for 50 aroundish.
Absolutely,
think so.
I got a black hard rubber one for I think $22.
Yeah,
It was
Yeah, it takes a little looking, but
My only hesitation would be that someone who's very new to the fountain pen world might not know what to look for on eBay in a vintage pen. So that is why a pen show is perfect.
yes. Well, a pen show that has vintage pens.
Yes.
And Matt, what about yours? Your favorite flex pen under 50?
So I have had a lot of issues with the Noodler's pens, a lot of issues to the point that I just don't even deal with them anymore.
Yeah.
I will say that sorry, I'm going to do this. I have only used one of the Fountain Pen Revolution's flex pens, and the nib itself wasn't a problem, but the feed was for me. And so it would just crap out on me after a little while.
Okay.
I'm with Eric in terms of if you're serious about flex, you want to play around with a flex pen, get an FPR or get a Noodler's and tinker around with it, or find a little dip pen that will take one of those steel dip pen nibs just to learn and whether or not you like it, and then go ahead and look for a vintage pen. And if you're looking for cheap vintage pens, go for a black pen. Black pens always cost a whole lot less than the old Waterman Red Ripple or any of that other stuff. Just go for a black hard rubber pen, and chances
Nobody
are
wants a tire.
Yes, somebody does actually, and we know who.
Some people want a tire.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
So that would be my thing. And and as for my favorite flex pen, it's not under 50, but I love my Waterman Ideal number 7 with the red nib.
But that's okay, because those are the fantastic flex pens. They just, the steel flex nibs just do not compare. And even the modern flex pens don't compare.
Well, and I found, even if you go with some of the semi-flex, like I found a really beautiful old Mandarin yellow Waterman or Parker Lady Duofold that had a semi-flex nib in it. I found it for $25. I found a really lovely Merlin 33 that had a semi-flex gold nib in it on eBay for $35. So deals can be found, especially if you look for the smaller pens, like Eric said, the 52V or 52.5V. Those generally tend to be pretty affordable if you want to go gold flex, which is, if you're serious about flex, is what I would recommend.
Yeah.
One final thing that I would like to say about that I get the feeling that people often ignore is that even if you buy the greatest flex pen in the world, you won't get the handwriting with it. So there's a lot of practice involved in being able to use a flex pen to do, say, Spencerian or copper plate script that won't come with the pen. So even if you spend $6,000 on a flex pen, you will not get that handwriting just overnight. That was just me nagging. Maybe the next question.
Well, before that, really quickly, Michelle Irene just said, I know nothing about vintage, and that scares me to even look into it. Don't let it scare you. You'll never learn if you don't start looking. Or go to a pen show. Because pen shows are great because someone there will be able to talk you through it. Go find Susan Worth's table, and you may never leave. So.
Or you'll leave with
I will say that about Susan Worth's table is that she has lots of flex pens on the table, and they're all inked up. You can try them right there at her table.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So next question. I'll go ahead and grab one, I think. This one's from Parsa Shamlu, who asks, "What are some pens you were dying to buy but ended up selling eventually? Cheap pens don't count." Let me see. Let me count the ways. Let me count the pens. There are a lot. There are a lot of them. The Omas Bologna, the Lamy 2000, the Edison. What was it? The little one, not the.
The Mina?
No.
The Perlette?
The Perlette? Yeah.
No, it's one of the production lines. It's
Beaumont?
the Beaumont. It's the Beaumont. Yeah. I mean, I've probably sold 80% of the pens that I've bought, not because they were bad pens, but just because either they didn't quite fit me or there was something I wanted more. So, yeah, there's a lot of them for me. I think the one that I wanted the most that I sold was probably the Visconti Salvador Dali. I loved the little melted clock over the clip.
Mm-hmm.
And the design, and I ended up selling that because I had a Van Gogh and it was basically the same pen.
Yeah.
Plus they had this little weird pie crust thing around the cap band that kept the pen from laying flat, which used to drive me crazy. So that's me. So what about you, Eric?
Well, you mentioned the Lamy 2000, and I really like the Lamy 2000. The design of it is, to me, classic, and I just love the pen. So when the Lamy 2000 with stainless steel came out, I just absolutely could not wait to get my hands on that pen. And I got it immediately as soon as it came out, but I had to sell it because it's just too heavy a pen, and it's something you don't know until you have the pen and you try to write with it. And I absolutely had to have the Mont Blanc Brahms. I just had to have that pen, and it was not a bad pen. It's just sometimes our imaginations make us feel that our lives will be complete if we can only have this pen. Then
I think that happens repeatedly.
Our expectations are greater than, not that the pen is bad in any way whatsoever, but our expectations were greater than.
The classic pens LB5. Sorry. Someone say something?
Yeah, those pens. I also had, I loved that pen. The look of that pen was the Visconti Wall Street limited edition with the section that had the same material. After a while, it just sits in your desk and you don't use it, and you go, "Why did I have to have this pen? Why?" So you sell that one, and then you move on to the next one. I have to have this pen. I have to have it.
What about you guys?
What about you?
For me, like you, there are quite a few that I've gone through because whether it was, ooh, this is shiny, I really like this, and I buy it, and then I spend a couple weeks with it, and then I realize I'm not madly in love with this pen, which I don't think is a bad thing, but one that really stands out for me was actually one I bought quite early on in my fountain pen collecting or growing exploration career. It was the Conway Stewart Marlboro Vintage, and I got it with an italic fine, and it's just a beautiful pen, and it smelled so good, and it was so pretty, but there were two things. One, the nib just did not work. It had to be nib-meistered. I mean, like, it just would not write, and it drove me absolutely insane, and then it sat in a drawer for, I think, 2.5 years, and it was very expensive when I bought it, so it was kind of, it was just throwing away money, and then eventually the nib was tuned, but then I realized when I could actually use it that it was just way too heavy, so it's kind of sad, but at the same time, you send it to a better home, someone who actually really wants it and knows what it is, and move on to something else.
I had a similar experience with a Conway Stewart Model 100. Absolutely gorgeous finish, deep red with a yellow swirl. Italic medium nib, beautiful, but the nib was horrible. It was so skippy, it hardly wrote. Eric knows because Eric was there in DC when we tried it out, and then we gave it to Mike Masayama, and then it was fixed. But even even after...
Thing that happened with my Conway Stewart. Give it to Mike Masayama, and finally it writes.
Yeah. I think Conway Stewart had serious nib issues, and
beautiful pens.
Absolutely stunning, but not good enough. And although the pen was nice, it was a bit like what Eric said about Lamy. Oh, not Lamy, the Wall Street. It was just never inked here, so we sold it. Even though it was a gorgeous pen, it just not good enough.
And one of the things, to kind of bring the question full circle is, when I got started, I didn't know what I liked.
Yes.
And so a lot of the stuff I thought I needed to have, I thought I needed to have it because I wanted to see what it was all about. And then once I got it, I was like, I don't really like this as much as I thought I was going to, because, once the pen store in my area closed, and I'd never been to a pen show until this last August, so I had no idea what I was doing. So I wanted to try everything. So now that I have a better sense, there are a lot of pens I thought I needed to have that now I look at and I go, I don't need that. So part of it comes with experience too.
Is that the same thing you're doing, Matt, with all those inks behind you? Just learning which ones you like?
Yes, well, largely yes, because for some reason I am anti-ink sample, apparently.
I don't like the samples either. They're just useless.
I buy the full bottles, and then but I am on a full-blown ink buying hiatus, and probably will be for the rest of my life. So we'll see how long that.
For the rest of your life or the rest of the year?
Maybe not even that.
Did it start this morning at 8 o'clock? Is that
exactly? So this is basically, I don't ever put an order into any online retailer without adding a bottle or two to the order. It just kind of, every time I order, I just add something to it. So, but on the plus side, it really helps when I'm putting together my ink reviews, because I have a whole bunch of comparisons to look at. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Stephen.
Yeah, why don't I pick something?
List.
We're scrolling to me.
Well, there was one that was there. Why do I have to scroll?
Well, because you
There's
do
so
these
many.
things so efficiently.
While you're looking that up, Parsa, who is in the chat, asked, what are some inks you were dying to get but never use anymore? For me, every single one of the GourmetPens 1670s.
Me too.
Same here.
I bought all of the Caran d'Ache Colors of the Earth line right after they got discontinued. I love them, but I almost never use them because I'm afraid that once they're gone, I'm not afraid. Once they're gone, I'm never going to get them back, so I never use them, which is stupid. And every time there's a limited edition ink, I'm like, I have to get this ink because it's limited edition, and then, like that, what is that? I'm trying to remember. Oh, it's the Winter Glow, Mont Blanc Winter Glow. I don't really use red inks, but I had to have one. So, anyway.
See, I have my eye on that one, but I have not pulled the trigger on a bottle because I was like, what I really is the cost of the bottle really going to give me that much enjoyment? And so I have not done it. But I agree with you on the GourmetPens inks because for me they're fun, and I put them in my Pilot Parallels, but I don't put them in like my regular fountain pens because they're just too high maintenance for my regular pens. So.
What do you mean by that, Azizah? I mean, I understand you, but I don't know that everybody's doing.
Because of the particles, they stick to the feed, and of course it can be cleaned. We do have a little ultrasonic cleaner which does take the particles off, but it requires really taking apart the pen, and sometimes I don't have time to do that, or someone else doesn't have time to do that.
I usually do.
Yeah, I only put them in Pilot Parallels because I don't want to put them in regular pens, and I have not yet tried the diamine shimmering. Are they gonna? You have, Azizah. Is that the same thing? You really only trust them in parallels?
Those ones I have found are much easier to clean because it seems to be more shimmer and not particles. I guess they're just smaller, less sticky. But even so, I put all 10 in 10 higher end pens, and they all cleaned out pretty easily, no staining and stuff. But even so, anything that can contaminate the next ink that goes in, I'm now a little careful about, because if I use it in a review or something, I don't want to mess up the review by having like previous ink in there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have selected a question which I thought was very interesting. Ryan M. asks, in your opinion, which factor is most important to consider in a fountain pen? Aesthetics, functionality, or novelty?
Function. No, if
Really?
it doesn't work, why do you even have it?
Says the only sane one here.
No, I certainly do like aesthetics. If a pen is pretty or if a pen is shiny, I like the pen. But if it doesn't write, I never use it. So what's the point of having it? It
Yes.
not only does it have to write, it has to write well. And we mentioned already Mike Masuyama. If you really love a pen and it just won't write and you can't get it to write, send it to Mike, because he's like the last step before you say, okay, this pen is just, I got to send it, I got to get rid of it. He makes the pens really, well, what is it? He make it right, I think is what his saying is. All of my pens that I love go to Mike, and that's part of the reason I love them. It has to be function. Function is the most important.
Yeah, and I'll add, function. The more serious you get into the hobby, I have found, since I've only been doing this for a couple of years now, about 3 years now, is that function is more than just does it right out of the box, because almost every pen I touch is adjusted in some way. I very, very rarely write it with the pen exactly as it came out of the box, because I tweak it for the way I tend to roll my pen a little bit, or I increase the ink flow or something like that. So for me, function is the most important thing, but it's less about exactly how the nib writes right now and the rest of the pen. So it's, or than the rest of the pen. So does it fit nicely in my hand? Is the weight good? Because those are things you can't really change. With if it's just I like the nib to be a little smoother, or I like it to be a little bit wetter, a lot of those things can be adjusted. And let me add my my testimony about Mike Masuyama's work. He's one of the best nibmeisters out there, and the nicest guy to boot. So in fact, he's got 2 of my pens right now, a Denitrio and a Classic Pens LM5 or LM1. So
with the return address to me, of course.
Yeah, go with that.
Yeah.
By way of Japan.
Yeah.
I agree. I think there is definitely some. The reason I took this pen out here was that this is the Speakeasy, and the Speakeasy clearly is a novelty pen with the little alcohol compartment in the back. However, the reason I selected it was not that it was a novelty pen, but because I like the aesthetics. But maybe I think I actually follow Eric. I just like the functionality. It's a big pen, and I like big pens, so that really worked. So I too think that the function is very important.
And I cannot lie.
Anyways,
come on, everybody was thinking it.
He's from my neck of the woods. Sir Mix-a-Lot's from Seattle.
Oh, awesome! See,
there you have it.
I should mention, though, we were talking about functionality being the most important. For me, functionality is when I pick up the pen, I got a piece of paper in front of me, I pick up a pen, I take the cap off, I start writing, I want it to write. For some people, the functionality of a pen might be tinkering with the pen. I'm not a big tinkerer. I don't care to tinker. Once I get the pen writing and perfect, I want it to stay like that for all eternity. I don't want to tinker with my pens. I want them, I will clean them and fill them, but that's the extent of my tinkering interest. But some people probably like to tinker.
Yeah.
I tend to smooth my pens a lot. I don't like the Platinum Pilot pens. A lot of the Japanese pens tend to come with a little bit more feedback. They don't polish the nibs quite as much. So I polish a lot of my pens, but obviously adjust the alignment and that sort of thing. But once I've done that, I don't want to have to do it every time I sit down and use the pen. So I'm on that. Nor do I, that's one of the I love lever-filled pens, and I love, I love cool filling systems. But if it's a pain in the rear end to clean and I know I'm going to need to replace the sack every year, I'm finding fewer and fewer places for pens like that in my collection, because it's just it's too much hassle.
I just have to ask, Matt, what pen would you possibly have to replace? What ink are you using in these ink sacks that make you have to replace the sacks once a year?
Well, like I said, I'm new to this, so I don't know how often it has to happen. Like I bought a Parker Vacuumatic or a while back, Vacuumatic Major, beautiful new old stock pen with a flex nib in it, which is, from what I understand, is pretty unusual for those old vacs. And blue, completely translucent, just beautiful brand new pen. It looked
new
like
old stock.
Yes.
And you inked it
from
we'll
Sweden.
Talk after the show.
Well, I'm a pen user, not a pen collector. So I'm sure I made some people just scream right there. But I had I have to send it off to get resacked, because it's just I can't resack it.
Yes, a Vacuumatic, you would send that off to get resacked. But if you have it done and it's done correctly, it'll last the rest of your lifetime.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know. The other thing is, cleaning that is just an absolute beast. Cleaning that style of filling system is a beast, and so I'm finding less and less place for those kinds of pens in my collection.
Yeah.
Really quickly,
Yeah.
I want to go back to a couple of real quick questions that we got in the chat.
Mhm.
So Thor Wright asks, I'm looking for other types of paper than Rhodia and Clairefontaine. Wondering if you guys have tried Kokuyu, or whatever, Kakuyo, Maramon, Namasani, or Apica. So I have tried Apica. It's super smooth paper. It tends to work really well with about 90% of the inks that I've tried. Don't have any issues with bleed through. Their master notebooks especially are really, really nice notebooks. They lay flat when you write with them. So I like Apica paper a lot. I have not tried any of the other kind. But if you haven't tried Tomoe River, do yourself a favor and get a pad of Tomoe River paper. It's worth the cost.
He's a Tomo hater.
Yeah.
No. Hater? Did you say
It's
hater?
so weird.
You don't
It's so weird. You're right. It crinkles. It upsets me.
Well, I've used all 4 of those papers, and I think
No,
my
so
favorite is
fantastic.
the
You're so
Marumon and the Nemosine.
Is that a paper?
Yeah, it's a
Oh, yeah,
specific
the little
notebook,
thing, yeah.
one of their subsets. I've used the Marumon Kula B7 set 7
I really don't know.
colored covers with like hard plastic. Really, really nice paper on those. And I think that would be my favorite. Those ones, the Marumon brand.
But Azizah, do you mean they're better than Rhodia, for instance?
No, but out of these 4, that would be my.
Okay, out of
my,
those 4, that would be your favorite. But I wonder why Thor has apparently found the best papers, in my opinion, already. Probably just curiosity, wanting to try other papers. Because I don't try any other papers. I don't.
Are you a Rhodia Clairefontaine guy?
I like Rhodia and Clairefontaine and Tomato River, and I don't see why I have to go looking anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel that I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
You should try copier paper.
I should,
It's
shouldn't I?
amazing.
I've got some right here.
Amazing.
When I run out of the good stuff, I might have to do that.
75 GSM Staples
Yeah.
copy paper.
That's some hardcore
Good
paper.
stuff right there. Yeah, the other paper I really like that I don't think gets anywhere near enough press is Franklin Christoph's paper.
Oh.
I think their sugarcane paper is it's really nice. It gives you more texture, so if you don't like that super smooth thing, Franklin Christoph's paper is really I like it quite a bit, and I use their journals a lot. But for my daily writing, I'm on Rhodia pretty much all day long at work, and then I have a Tomoe River journal, and that's what I use to write letters. So
I will say Franklin Christoph is right up there with Rhodia. It's top notch, amazing paper. I pick it up every time I go to a pen show because it's only available at Franklin Christoph. I don't find myself ordering at Franklin Christoph as much as I order at like online retailers, and online retailers don't sell the Franklin Christoph paper, so I don't get a constant replenishment of it. But whenever you go to a pen show, you have to pick up Franklin Christoph paper.
Yeah, I was part of I got on Massdrop a while back, and when they had the 3 of the A5 notebook sizes, I was like, excellent. So I have a few sitting around that I haven't. Excellent.
Yeah.
That I haven't used yet.
It really is wonderful paper.
Awesome.
Okay, so Azizah, I think you're up next.
Yeah, you're up next.
What was the question again? I forgot.
What?
The functionality?
What?
The pen, or am I picking another
Oh, we've already done
question?
that.
Oh, sorry.
Zoned out.
You were supposed to pick a question now.
I got excited. We were talking about paper. And Tomato
You should
River
have.
came up. Okay, let me see. Well, I received a blog comment from Miss Fountain Pen, so that could be any lady out there.
Or a man.
Or man.
Yeah.
Are there any pens that have grown on you? So pens that we didn't like very much initially.
Like a
but
fungus.
like a fungus. But have since become, a mega fungus. Ooh.
Grown on me.
And why? Why would they have gained your affection over time? That's tough.
Yeah, well, of course, there is that one pen. No, that is tough. Anyone?
It's funny because I tend to fall in love with pens really quickly, and then I tend to go the opposite direction.
Yeah,
I love it
exactly.
at first,
Yes.
and then I
Yeah.
fall out of love with it over time. There are a couple that the one that I didn't like very much was the Sailor pro gear. I don't. It's too short, and I don't normally post my pens. But it came with a zoom nib, and I just don't care for the zoom nibs at all. And the only reason I had it is because I accidentally dropped a pen someone let me borrow nib first on hardwood floor, and so since it was a brand new John Modishaw tuned pen, I basically felt I had to order him a brand new one, so I had this broken pen. And then I took the nib to Mike Masuyama. Again, another plug for Mike. He's not an advertiser, but we're just fans. And he ground it into a cursive italic, and it's one of my favorite nibs now. And so I find myself using that more and more. But I don't think there are any that I was just ho-hum about and have grown into really amazing pens for me. So I don't know.
I came up with one. There was a pen we bought, the Parker Dual Fold, the limited edition Ackerman edition, and we got an original factory Parker italic / stub. It's a little hard to classify, I think. And that nib, we dipped it in the store. It was fantastic. We took it home, and I had a lot of trouble making it right. And I thought, oh no, because I love the way the pen looks. I love the concept of the italic nib because it's an original old Parker nib. But I just couldn't make it work. And I gave it a very good cleaning, and now it writes like a dream.
But like a really good cleaning, because it was a vintage nib, basically.
It had been in that shop for a long time.
Who knows how much stuff it collected.
So, but that's fine now. So that was actually more like a mechanical defect, I suppose, that was now fixed. But it's fantastic. So that's a pen I actually fell in love with.
I've remembered one as well, and it's been so long since I didn't like them that I had forgotten that there was a time when I absolutely swore I would never own one, and that's the vanishing points. I did not like those vanishing points. I thought the design was very anti-fountain pen. There was no cap. The nib was this tiny little thing. I want to see a nib. I like fountain pens because of the nibs. I thought I will never own a vanishing point. But boy, once you get used to a vanishing point, they are
those
so
nibs
convenient.
are so good too.
They're just wonderful to use. So yeah, I've got like 4, and I just love them. But I do remember a time in my history when I said I'll never own one of those. It's like sacrilege.
Yeah.
By the way, the chat room reminded me of other paper, black and red notebooks.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
If you haven't tried those, they're quite inexpensive and surprisingly good for the price.
Yeah.
So I've got one. That's what I keep. Because I'm a nerd, I journal all of my media, so all the books and audiobooks and movies that I read and watch and listen to and that sort of
Wait, why
stuff.
is that nerdy? Isn't that just sensible?
Yeah, sensible. That's
Really?
Okay, look, you have really expensive pens, right, and lots of nice inks. So I'm trying to throw you a bone here. Like it's like, this is good. This is good. We're using your stuff.
Yeah, we need every excuse we can find to use our pens.
Exactly.
I mean, just grocery lists don't cut it.
No.
In any case, the black and red notebooks, that's what I use for that, and I haven't had any issues with it. Now, I've not used a flex nib on that, but it seems to hold up to wet broad nibs no problem. So, yeah, as Paul said in the chat room, I think we all crossed the nerd line a long time ago. So,
Yeah, that's true. We're talking about fountain pens.
How about the next question?
Yep.
I think it's Matt.
Your,
Oh, is it?
I think well,
No, I think
it
you
is
should do
mine.
it, Matt.
You're right.
I think you should do it. You only live once.
Just throw a dart.
So this is a question mainly for me, I think, because I'm the one who almost quit. Heather Folsom on YouTube asks, "It's been awesome seeing you blossom since you come back. Since you have come back, going from burnout to really diving in is fascinating and really admirable. Anything you'd like to share about that process?" So, quick backstory for people who don't know: I did one season of reviews. I did not have a very good time with it. I was getting a lot of really assy people, for lack of a better term, leaving comments, and I was, I had like filled my credit cards with pens and ink and paper, and so I was like, I'm not sure I'm coming back after this season. I did eventually come back for season 2, did all of season 2, and then started season 3 back in October. For me, a couple of things. One, I paid off all my credit cards, and I'm not buying pens on credit anymore. Period. If I can't afford it up front, I just don't buy it. So that has helped.
Solid advice.
Yeah, because it has helped me reduce the stress.
Yeah.
I have taken a very active approach to the way I handle comments and new stuff on YouTube. I delete jerky comments, just flat out. I don't respond to them. I'm trying not to post them. I did do that one response video last time, but I ended up
It was
just
a troll
not.
calling you. Did you notice?
Yes.
It was a
Yes.
troll right now.
Exactly. I have no idea who that was. Anyway, and then the other thing I did was I continue to take breaks because I do get burned out like anybody else, and so I try to work ahead and then take some time off and work ahead and take some time off. So that's kind of the process that I go through. And at some point in the future, I've just made peace with the fact that if I'm not having fun doing this anymore, I'm gonna quit.
Yeah, like what's the point?
It's like, it takes so much time, so much energy, and so much money. Yeah, all my credit cards is very much an American thing. So yeah, so that's kind of what has happened. That's how I'm doing what I'm doing now and why I'm enjoying it. Plus, I've got all this equipment around me that I really enjoy using. So having the toys really helps me quite a bit. The lighting and the cameras and playing around with all that stuff. And I love the people. That's the thing I really like. I love the people I interact with for the most part. So.
For the
most part.
There are still the clown holes out there who try to make life difficult, but I have learned how to derive such beatific enjoyment of locking people who have decided to make it their life's work to just be jerks. It's just I get a nice little warm feeling inside when I block someone and report them for abuse to YouTube. It makes me happy. So.
That's hilarious.
Okay.
But that's good.
That's my question. So I think, Stephen, are you up next?
I think I am. And I just saw a very interesting question in the chat that I think is interesting. What is your all favorite online retailer to buy most of your pen-related products? And I think that's interesting.
That's kind of tough, though.
Yeah, I can't say I have one online retailer where I buy most of my products, but I do know that the first online retailer where I bought a nice pen was La Couronne du Comte, and I still think that that is a magnificent online retailer, not only because they also have a brick-and-mortar store, but because they really deliver wonderful service. And I know they're one of my sponsors, but I say that because way before they were my sponsors, every single experience I've had with them has been extremely positive. So I really enjoy that company. Everything in their service, their aftercare, the communication. If something is not in stock has to be ordered, I think it's top notch. What about you?
Well, I buy from all sorts of places.
Well, then pick one. 3, 2, 1.
I don't know. That's difficult because there's a lot of American and Canadian sites, well, international sites basically, that I have come to love from living in Canada and the US and now here, but because of import and shipping, I'm like, okay, I ship this to my home, my parents or to a friend or something, and I'm like, I'll pick it up later. So I actually have stuff kind of all over the place to pick up, so I don't really know how I could sensibly answer this. If that made any sense.
What about Eric?
I only order online at Anderson Pens, with the caveat that if they don't carry a certain thing that I really, really want, I go to Jet Pens and have a look.
Not allowed. No,
Plus,
good service.
Brian and Lisa are, again, about the nicest people you could ever meet. So
yeah,
they
definitely.
Good
I would
folks.
say that, except I have a personal relationship with them, so it would be meaningless for me to say that.
Well, I have a personal relationship with him, and he's insane, so
True.
it's okay.
Doesn't matter.
Brian and Lisa do have that brick and mortar store. It's just past its 2-year anniversary, and that store is just amazing. I mean, I wish I could tell everyone to go to that store, but it's you have to be.
It's in Appleton,
in the
Wisconsin.
area.
Appleton, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Took me 2 years to get there.
And so for me, let's see. Of course, the first place I always go, and this is just a shameless plug, is for the people who sponsor my blog because I feel as though I owe it to them. I also really enjoy the Chatterley Luxury site.
Oh.
His site's dangerous for me. but now that I've started going to pen shows, my online purchasing has been curtailed significantly. So most of the stuff that I buy now, I'm looking at. Just wait, save up and buy at the pen shows, because I'm going to LA in February, and I go to DC in August. So I like to play around with pen shows, but I've ordered from Anderson Pens and Goulet and Fountain Pen Hospital and Farney's and Le Coron de Comte and Pen Chalet and Pen World. I mean, Fonto Plumo. So yeah, I've ordered from pretty much everybody at this point. So anyway, okay.
All right.
Next question. I think
Whose turn is
this
it?
is
Is it
yours.
Zizah?
Well, there's a question in the chat, which I actually think that you got earlier, but we had not gotten to, from Patrick.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to purchase a portable Nakaya Rider Akatamanuri. I think that's the black and blue one, isn't it?
I don't know.
Have we seen this in real life, or would it be worth it to buy this pen, or rather a Pelican M1000? That's very tough.
Wow.
It's a very different pen.
They're very different pens. That's the thing. So
Yeah.
now you guys, Stephen, I know you're not a huge fan of Nakayas, are you? Because they're too light.
Yeah, they're too light, and the one now, that's not entirely fair, because I mean not what you said, but I mean my dislike of the brand. I'm sorry, I just completely lose it over this, as you can see. I used Azizah's Piccolo,
Which is tiny.
which is so small that I cannot use it, and I used a friend's Decapod, right? It's a Decapod. That is very narrow and little. So I mean, clearly the pens of the lacquer is beautiful. It's fantastic, but I can't use the pens comfortably. So that ends my involvement with Nakaya. But they're beautiful. Now, when it comes to an M1000, yeah.
But comparing these, a portable writer is long and slim, and as the M1000 is large, it's a heavy pen because that's a brass piston. So already you're looking at a pretty significant weight difference.
Size.
I would say.
Size. You said portable, right? Yeah. So that's. There's only one option.
Get both.
You gotta buy both.
Yeah, it depends what your criteria
This enablement
are, really.
brought to you by Eric.
Yeah. Yeah, it really depends what your criteria are, depending on what nib you're interested in,
Yeah.
what finish you like.
Christine in the chat said that the Akatamanuri is red on red, which I will tell you is a gorgeous finish.
Yes.
I saw it in the Neo Standard that I did a review of. It's a beautiful finish on the pen. And I have the Decapod in the Heki Temanuri, which is the brown green, which I really like a lot too.
Right.
But I think the too long didn't read version of this is, if you like a light pen and you don't mind it being a little on the narrower side, the Nakaya is probably your best bet. Their nibs are very good, but they tend to be a little bit feedbacky, whereas the Pelican M1000, it's going to be very wide for its designation. It's usually very smooth, a little on the wet side. The nib is going to be kind of bouncy because the M1000 nibs have a lot of bounce to them, and they're a lot heavier and a lot girthier in the hand. So it's just kind of a preference thing.
The middle ground here would be to get a Pelican M800 and use the extra money to send it off to Mike Masuyama.
Yes.
And you would have your Braille pen.
Oh.
That'd be a good idea.
The 800 is my favorite Pelican size by far. It's just the perfect size pen for me.
I agree. It is absolutely perfect. The 1000 is beautiful to look at, fun to use for a couple of minutes, but for writing, the M800.
Yeah.
It's like the 149 versus the 146 in modern forms. 146 just fits better.
So, Eric, someone asked you what happened to your 12 pen policy.
I still have, has that been changed to 12? That 12 pen policy has changed to 100 things policy in my life. I'm trying to get my everything, all the things that I own down to 100 things. And last I checked, that left room for about 10 pens. And so all my pens are for sale, except the 10 that I really want to keep. It's just a matter.
You and I need to speak.
Or not, maybe.
Or not.
Or not, maybe not. Yeah. Maybe don't let me.
So,
Mm.
yes, I think even if you have 150 pens, you should have a dozen that you absolutely love and would not part with no matter what.
Yeah.
You need to prioritize these pens.
The way I've started looking at it, I mentioned this in the last Q&A, is I've got my set of like 10 to 12 pens that, like, just I'm not going to sell. I'll live on the street with my pens before I sell them.
Yeah,
Everything else is just a savings account.
yes, you have to have those pens,
Mhm.
those 10 or 12 pens. And as Azizah knows, and probably Dr. Brown, when I get a new pen, I have to decide which one of my favorite pens is gone. So it's very difficult for me to get a new pen now.
Mhm.
Yes,
Mm.
that is very difficult.
Yeah.
Not impossible, just very difficult.
I don't
Okay.
know.
So
Who's
is it-
next?
I think it's my turn, isn't it?
I think so.
Okay. Let me take a quick look at what I got here. Oh, Sina asks, is there anything else you currently collect or would want to collect besides fountain pens? Sorry, I should probably put the camera on me. So last month I went to Ohio where my grandmother lived. She passed away back in July, and we spent a week cleaning out her house. And she had been in that house for 65 years and was a hoarder.
Hmm.
We threw away 3 20-yard dumpsters of trash in 4 days, and we're still only about halfway through the house. She
Wow.
had all of her parents' stuff, all of my grandfather's parents' stuff, and all of my grandfather's aunt and uncle's stuff, because they died childless, in one house. They had a 3-car garage that was floor-to-ceiling full. Every bedroom was floor-to-ceiling full. So the short version is no, I don't collect anything else. We have the hoarder gene in my family, and I just the one thing I did take with me from my grandmother's house is she had a bunch of stamps. She had started collecting stamps. Fortunately, stamps don't take up a whole lot of space, and they can be had for pretty cheap. So I may at some point decide I want to start doing a little bit of philately. But at the moment, no, I'm not doing any more collecting because
You do realize that you have a collection of ink behind your head, as you say. I don't collect anything besides pens.
well, I consider ink to be part of the pen
Oh, you're one of
pen
those.
sphere. Yes. So
Hmm.
anyway, so what about the rest of you guys? Any collections, Eric?
No, I don't particularly like having a lot of things. I like having as few things as possible, but I do have an interest in stamps. So I always avoid them. I really kind of like typewriters, but could you imagine collecting typewriters? You would need like a warehouse. So no, I just avoid those.
That's true.
Well, hey, we found about 6 typewriters at my grandmother's house, so if you want any, just let me know.
No, you're not going to take me down that rabbit hole.
So
Oh, man.
I do have to say really quickly before I pass it over to Stephen and Azizah. If you're a collector, the real question is not, do I want this or do I think someone can use it? The question is, what are my kids going to do with it after I die? And if you think the answer is, my kids are going to throw this away, make sure that your kids have a good feeling towards you after you die by doing the work for them before you die. My grandmother, I mean, literally for a week, I just sat inside my head going, Grandma, why did you do this to me? I was so upset with her. Just don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
If you're a hoarder, get help, please, for your family relationships.
There's the man
And
with
scene.
1,000 inks behind his head.
Yes, but see, I'll throw those away or give them away. I'm not emotionally
He's
tied
put
to
those in his
things.
will for me.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Okay.
Taken care of.
So, Stephen, I know you have a little sword collection, do you not?
Yes,
You did
and
at
I'm
one point?
actually I have started to sell those, which is not super easy because it is a fairly specialized object. But apart from that, I don't think I really collect. And even to be honest, even in the pens that I use, I don't think that is a collection. A collection, I think, is something that has a focus. For example, every Parker 51 ever made. And I think that if you just buy any pen you like because it's shiny or because you want to have it, it's not necessarily a collection, right? Then it's just accumulating pens, which doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that, but then you're not an official collector. You're just an accumulator of fountain pens. And although in the past months there has, I think what has developed in my pen use is that there is a little bit of a collecting thing, to the extent that I really like the Visconti Opera Master model. So
Wait,
I have.
this is about what would you currently collect aside from that?
Yeah, but I'm just trying to make a point. The point being
Sure.
that is starting to become a little bit of a collection, but even that, I know there's a lot of models out there that I don't want to have and don't want to own. So even in pens, I don't collect. How about you?
So your answer is you do not collect anything else?
He doesn't even collect pens, apparently.
No, I don't know what I would collect.
So are the swords not a collection?
Well, they used to be, but I don't. Let me put it this way: I don't buy swords anymore, so I don't actively collect them. There may have been a collection at some point, but it's not really, and it's being broken up because it's sold off. So I don't think that counts anymore.
He's in denial. He doesn't even think his pens are a collection. Azizah, how about you?
I have a small collection in my fountain pens, but it's very small because it's just small based on the pens.
Did I ruin everything now? That's usually what I do. I enter a room, I ruin things. So
What?
nothing.
So weird. He's obviously hungry. But I don't collect in terms of fountain pens a brand or a type of a type of pen or something, I guess.
Other
than shiny.
You like
Okay,
Rodden. You
this-
like Rodden.
Yes, I like the Rodden technique. I think
And
that's-
expensive pens.
I also like music nibs, but it's a very small collection, and I'm not like out to collect every single music nib on the planet or every Rodden pen. But other than that, I also do not have any collections. I'm kind of like Eric in that I'm trying to get rid of stuff. I don't want to have stuff. Is that weird? Probably.
No, we're just minimalists.
No,
I
we're not.
thought you
minimalists.
told me at one point you have a serious case of one of everything-itis.
Yeah, I really did, but
Mhm.
it's I'm trying to not have it anymore.
Mhm.
Well,
I've moved a lot.
According to Brian Anderson, if you have 3 of any one pen, it's a collection. So if you think about the pens you own, how many collections do you have? So I can think of 2 or 3 off the top of my head without even looking at my pens.
I
I
think
think
just
the Pilot Parallels.
Pilot Parallels, that's one collection.
but those are fun pens.
It's
That's
still a collection of Pilot Parallels, according to Brian Anderson.
Well, in that case, I just need to get myself another Classic Pens LB5, and I can start a collection of those.
There you go. And there's
Taylor
like what
cut.
4 or 5 colors. There you go. That's
Well,
perfect.
I just got an email from Andy with they have a bunch of new color prototypes that they're working on, like 8 new colors. Some of them are really, really nice that he took to the Columbus Pen Show last month. So, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So I will be avoiding his table at the LA show and the DC show for the time being.
Yeah.
Okay. I think, let's see, Stephen? Or no, is it Azizah? Is
I think it's-
your question?
It doesn't matter. If you see one first, go for it. There's quite a.
Let's take. I wanted to take a little bit. We're getting close to the end of the hour here, so there's one question that I've been getting a lot of lately that I wanted to talk a bit about because because I never miss an opportunity to stand up on my soapbox. So Jen left a comment on my blog that said, "At what point do you think a pen gets overrated for its price? Certain ones immediately jump the shark, but then there's some on the cusp of what I wouldn't pay for a pen that makes me wonder if stepping up my spending game is worth it. Say, for instance, I don't ever plan to spend more than $700 on a pen, but then there's that gorgeous $750 one that makes my heart skip a beat. At what point do you think a pen gets to be more hype than substance?" And there was a follow-up question that had a similar about that. So you'd be surprised. Well, maybe you wouldn't. I don't know. I get some variation of this question probably 4 or 5 times a week, whether it's on one of my videos or an email or on Twitter. And not to, I don't want to be flippant about it, but something is only worth what someone is willing to pay for it. And so to put a value on a pen, what calculates value is such a wide array of things, and it's so subjective based on where you are in your life. You know, I'm a single man, I live alone, I have a good job, I don't have a whole lot of expenses, so what's expensive to me may not be the same as what's expensive to you. You know, are you going to get a significantly better writing experience at $700 than you would at $300? Probably not. I mean, honestly, I've had $10 writing experiences that are better than some of the $700 writing experiences that I've had.
Yep.
So it's not to be flippant about it, but it's what you're willing to pay. You know, and I have a couple of very expensive pens that I bought. I've mentioned them several times. And so this is another reason where, let me say, pen shows for the win, because I think you'll find out when you go to a pen show what you're willing to pay for. You'll be able to try different things and try them. The difference between $700 and $750, you're not going to hear anything. So anyway, other thoughts?
Yeah, when you go to that pen show, don't take your credit cards, don't take your ATM. Because what you'll find out is that you want every single pen in the room.
It's also a very slippery slope. You're like, oh, you know, I could just buy these 3. Oh, I might as well throw in that 4th, and then next thing you know, you're broke.
My first pen show, I left with 12 new pens, and it's only because it was my first pen show. I was overwhelmed. It was wonderful. So really, set a budget and do not let yourself go over the budget. And don't buy the first thing you see. Walk the room.
Yeah.
The reason I did that at my first pen show is because I thought, well, if I leave it now, someone else is going to buy it. You know, it's not going to be here when I get back. If it usually is there when you go back, and if it isn't there, it's because it wasn't meant for you. Yeah, go to a pen show.
Yeah. So yeah, the value, it's up to you, and it really depends on what you use your pens for. You know, I don't use my pens to get nicer handwriting. I use them because I like the way using them makes me feel. It's that I like to feel superior to everybody else. No. So it's, you know, if you're happy with a $10 fountain pen, there is nothing wrong with that. If all you want is a nice workhorse pen, wonderful. It doesn't detract from your love of your $10 pen that I like a $700 pen or a $1,200 pen. Likewise, if I don't like your $10 pen, it doesn't detract from your love of your $10 pen. It's about what makes you happy.
Yeah, it's a matter of utility, I think.
The soapbox.
No,
sorry, what'd you say?
No, I said I think it's a matter of utility. I mean, not necessarily utility as in how useful is something, but the experience of utility. Like, how much do you value something? And I think, you know, pretty much, I'm just going to say something sour again. Not because I'm angry today or anything, but I mean, I honestly think pretty much any pen over a preppy is probably overpriced. A fountain pen is a luxury product. There is no pen that is going for $1,000 that's probably worth $1,000. It's probably not. A few exceptions with diamonds and all that stuff in there. It's probably not worth it. But it doesn't matter. What matters is exactly what Matt said. It's supposed to give you a certain amount of joy to use, a certain amount of pleasure. It could be a $5 pen.
Yeah.
Just now, someone sent me, yesterday it came in, I think, an Indian handmade pen, but the brand ASA, A-S-A. I hadn't used that before, ASA, and the model is called the Sniper. It's a pretty big, oversized pen. It's sort of cloudy, transparent. It looks nice. It's not a $5 pen. It's going for something, I saw on the web, something like 50 euros, 55 euros. So it's not ultra cheap, but it's definitely not super expensive. And the pen writes like a dream. It's magnificent. Really, really nice nib, good ink flow, writes fine. Well, that's perfect. If that is a
writes better than that Conway Stewart. Both of them.
Exactly.
All of them.
Yeah, which is 10 times as expensive, literally. So it's just a matter of what you value. I think that's a great answer. And what you said earlier, I think, just hits the nail on the head. It's worth what you're willing to pay for it. And that's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think we received all of us received a similar question where someone was very specific. He asked, is there an advantage to buying a $700 pen over a $150 pen? And he said he's not interested in a unique filling mechanism, a unique material, or anything like that. He just wants a reliable, dependable pen. So I said simply, well, you know, there are advantages, but it sounds like from what you're describing, they will not apply to you, because if you just want a workhorse pen and you don't care about pretty materials or, you know, some fancy schmancy system, then you can just get a basic workhorse pen in a much lower price.
I got that same email, as I said, and my response to him was, it sounds like you're not willing, like you wouldn't be okay with losing that $700 pen, having that $700 pen disappear. And if you're not, you know, if you're emotionally not capable of stomaching a loss of that, don't buy the pen, because pens are, you know, possessions are fleeting.
Well,
so,
my expensive pens don't leave the house.
See, I actually do take my expensive pens with me. I know I'm a bit of an anomaly in that respect, but I have a 3-pen wallet. I carry it with me everywhere I go. None of my pens are sacred to me, except the vintage, the old, you know, the really old, delicate vintage ones. But even the expensive ones, if I'm not, because I just don't use them enough at home. I use them all day long at work, so they're always on me. But that's just, you know, that's my world. So. All right.
Yep.
Well, Eric, Stephen, and Azizah, anything coming up that y'all want to plug since we're here at the end of the hour?
There's this thing called Christmas that some people celebrate.
Apparently there's a war on it or something. I don't know. I haven't heard.
Yeah. Well, apparently Reese's has now made Christmas trees that don't look like Christmas trees, and this is upsetting for people.
It's very upsetting.
Yeah.
Well, we have a giveaway for a Statler, Initium Metallum.
Yeah. Nice pen.
Yeah, nice pen.
Very well.
It's on Serious Nibbage, so you can watch the video, find out how to enter.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
right. We have to actually watch the video to see how to enter.
yeah, because I figured we put a specific question that people have to answer, and then I realized that half the entries, nobody was answering the question. I was like, they're just entering.
Aha.
So.
Gotcha.
But it would be nice, you know, people just, you know, even to whether they like it or hate it. And it was sent over by PenWorld, so I think we're all familiar with PenWorld. But anyway, that's pretty much it.
That's our plug.
That's our plug.
I'll plug the Philadelphia Pen Show, and the reason I'll plug it is because, Matt, you have to go.
Well, you know, it's funny because my dad is actually building a high-rise in downtown Philadelphia right now.
Very convenient.
Out there
Perfect.
every 2. Now, were I not in the middle of a job hunt looking for a new job, no one tell my current employers, I would probably come out with him and go to the pen show, because he came with me to the DC show. He's a pen fan as well. But
well, the Philadelphia Pen Show's not till January 23rd and 24th, so you got a little time.
yeah, maybe I'll have a new job by then, and we'll be able to come.
I'll work on you.
All right, and then I will, on your behalf, guys, plug. If you aren't familiar with the Pen O'Clock podcast,
Aw, thank you.
that happens every Saturday except today because I co-opted it. At 8 a.m. Pacific time, which would be 1600 hours GMT, with Eric, Stephen, and Azizah, and it's just penoclock.com. penoclock.com. So, and then I will be having a couple of giveaways as well here in the next little while, including a very nice Laban Mento that we're going to be giving away.
That's a nice brand.
A very nice
That's
pen.
a pen that you put in a bottle of Pepsi and it explodes.
Donated by a really, really generous viewer. She bought like 4 of them because she, you know, likes the bigger pens, and she's like, wanted to give you one to give away. So that will be coming up as well. So PenHabit.com for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to do it. Anything else y'all want to add?
No.
Okay.
I'm done.
Well, there was one thing Lord Windermere wanted to add. He wanted me to tell you that he's 10 inches.
Yes, he's spreading that rumor, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
It is definitely
Every
a rumor.
time.
Pretty sure he
It's a
tweeted
rumor.
it the other day.
I know.
Well, no, I think this was nice. We had some decent questions.
Good interaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, we never get to all the questions we want to, so if we
Yes.
missed your question, we apologize. We save all of them, but considering every time we do one of these, we get about 7 or 8 times more than we can actually answer. We may never get to them, so just ask them again.
Yeah.
We'll maybe answer them the next time. So, all right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you very much, Eric, for joining us.
Oh, thank you for
Really
having me.
appreciate it.
This was fun.
Yeah,
We should do this again sometime.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everyone in the chat room who watched and live. And if you're watching it after the fact, thanks for doing that. And we will see you here maybe in a month for the next live Q&A. So thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.